Right. At this time, we will call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Trustee Anson.
Here.
Trustee Doro. Here. Trustee Myers.
Here.
Trustee Walschlager.
Here.
Trustee Connor. Here. Trustee Ledke. Here. President Vanderstill.
Here. If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Trustee Connor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's me. I'm trying to figure it out.
You're being disruptive. Tim. Function and then
Ooh. Who's beeping?
At this time, would anybody like to speak in public comments? Was that on me? Oh, good. I do not have a pacemaker. If anybody would like to speak in public comments, Mr. Hallquist?
I was just concerned. I thought it might have been a pacemaker of one of you.
Okay, all right. I have not had mine installed yet, so we're good on me. Anybody that would like to speak in public comments, please step towards the podium for the floor. Last call for public comments. All right. Our first item of business is a presentation of the 2020 financial statements and audit results from Wendi Under, the CPA partner at Baker Tilly. Hi.
Well, thank you for having me here this evening. Again, my name is Wendi Unger. I'm a partner with Baker Tilly. I'm the individual responsible for the village's audit. I'm going to go through, you should have a document in front of you. You actually have two bound documents. Not going to go through those in detail. You should have a couple page handout that I will use that summarizes both of those documents. I'm going to hit this at a very high level. Please feel free to stop me and ask any questions that you may have as I go through the results. Before I get into the first page of the handout where I've highlighted the results of the audit, I do just want to thank Ryan and his team. We did a remote audit again due to the COVID situation, so there was additional time and effort that he needed to put in, so I appreciate his assistance in doing that. On the first page of the handout, again, audit results. The objective of the audit was to render an opinion on the financial statements. We've done that. We've issued a clean, unmodified opinion, highest level of assurance that you can obtain from us as your auditors. That unqualified or unmodified opinion means that the financial statements are believed to be materially accurate, disclosures that are required to be included under our standards have been, and that accounting principles have been consistently applied year to year. As I do each year, I remind everyone, included in the audited statements, there is a section that's titled Management's Discussion and Analysis. That is a document that is prepared by management that is a real high-level Cliff Note version of what happened at the village during the year. So I encourage you to take a look at that. It does give you a good synopsis of the activity. Moving on to the next page, this is where I begin the summary financial information. The information that's included on the next couple pages are the governmental funds of the village, and then we'll switch gears and turn over to your utilities, and then conclude with the other document that you've also received. Again, going to hit a few high points on each of these pages. The first column there is the village's general fund. This is your day-to-day operating fund. This is where you account for most of your everyday activity. You'll note $7.6 million of revenue, $7 million of expenditures, some other financing sources and uses, and this is mainly items that move from one fund to another of $193,000. So overall, the general fund for 2020 added $332,000 to fund balance. When the village board put together the budget for 2020, you budgeted to break even. So you had a positive swing in activity to the tune of the $332,000. When you add that to the beginning fund balance, you are left with $5.6 million, almost $5.7 million of fund balance. Before I go through the pieces, just want to note a couple of items. When you look at the budget to actual activity, which there is a schedule in your audited statements that presents that your revenues were over budget, by $115,000, which is a favorable position. The largest contributor to that, you had the additional CARES funding, so the money that you received from the federal government during 2020. Also, your building permit revenue was up roughly $58,000. As expected, your park activity was less than budget due to the pandemic, and then your investment income was also under budget. On the expenditure side, expenditures were $300,000 under budget. So again, a favorable position, which ultimately the being over in revenue and under in expenditures added that additional money to fund balance. Again, just a couple items to note. General government, that was the largest category that was under budget, and that's where you account for your administration, your finance, clerk, elections, that type of activity. They were $150,000 collectively under budget. The main reasons for that, legal was $60,000 less than budget, and you also had budgeted some contingency money that you ultimately didn't need, and that was almost $120,000. Again, parks were under budget by $128,000. There were only two categories that were over budget. One was fire, which was $74,000 over budget, and conservation and development, which is where your inspection activity flows through. And because of the additional activity, that was $24,000 over budget. So again, $5.7 million of fund balance. A few components to that. You'll note in that first column, $1.4 million is non-current receivables. So these are monies that other funds owe the general fund. So we set that aside as non-spendable until those monies are collected. There's almost $15,000 of restricted. This is the Act 102 money. So this is fire department money or ambulance money that is restricted for a particular purpose. And then assigned $1.558 million. There is an extensive list of what's included in there on page 60 of your footnotes. But that's really the largest portions are some benefits, future payments of benefits, and capital type purchases. The unassigned portion, which is your working capital contingency type balance, is $2.6 million in your general fund. You do have a policy to exceed 25% of your general fund revenue. That is right now at 36%. So you're in compliance with your policy and at a very strong financial position in the general fund. Moving to the rest of the funds on this page, the next three columns are the Tif funds. All three added positively to fund balance, as noted in each of those sections. Most of the activity included in those is a small amount of increment and then a little bit of investment income, so not a lot of activity there for 2020. The last column on this page, the debt service fund. This is the fund where you levy a tax and make principal and interest payments on village debt. So this does not include anything for the utilities. $1.6 million of revenue, again, mainly taxes. $1.8 million of expenditures, again, principal and interest. So the debt service fund utilized fund balance and had $263,000 of fund balance as of the end of the year. Those monies are restricted. They can only be used for debt service purposes until the debt of the village is paid in full. On the next page, the remaining governmental funds of the village. First column is your capital project. This is your village projects fund. A little bit of revenue, some investment income and some miscellaneous revenue in that fund. You spent $2.15 million. That is mainly road projects and storm sewer repairs that were done during the year. So that fund had a decrease in fund balance of $2 million and it had $3.5 million as of the end of the year. You'll note down below that there's two components to fund balance. The $2.3 million, that's unspent borrowed money. So that shows as restricted because it does have a particular purpose. The remaining balance in that fund, the $1.2 million, is assigned again for capital type activity. The next column, your corporate reserve, your capital projects, really more capital equipment type activity. $13,000 of revenue, again, mainly interest income. $564,000 of expenditures. This is the pieces in here, your lobby remodeling. You had some squad cars that you purchased during the year, new chipper, a new skid loader. That's where that activity flowed through. So those funds in total used up about $10,000 of fund balance and had $1.6 million of fund balance as of the end of the year. The very last column here is what's titled non-major funds. So these are your library fund, your impact fee fund, your refuse and recycling, and your major incident task force fund. These are detailed out on pages 92 and 93 of your audited statements in more detail. Overall, those funds in total reduced fund balance by $78,000. The largest pieces of your revenue and expenditures in those funds is your refuse and recycling. That's roughly $410,000 of that activity on the revenue side and $456,000 on the expenditure side. So those funds, again, utilized $80,000 of fund balance, had $531,000 of fund balance, and then down below, you'll note $486,000 is restricted. That is library at $80,000, and the remaining balance is impact fees. Those are restricted by purpose and for which they are collected, so those are not available for spending for any other reason. Committed, $60,000. $53,000 is recycling, the refuse and recycling, and then the $77,000 is your major incident task force. And then the last item there is a deficit that's in your developer contribution fund as of the end of the year. Moving to the next page, this is the remaining two funds of the village, your water and sewer activity for 2020 and at a very high level. $1.8 million of water revenue compared to $1.7 million of expenses. Just a couple of items to note there. Your customer revenue within your water utility was up about $100,000 over the previous year. The expenses were down $150,000 due to less maintenance work and within the admin category and maintenance. So again, the water utility added $171,000 to net position. That compares to an addition of $380,000 in the prior year. Keep in mind, the reason for that big change is in 2019, you had contributed capital. You had donated assets over to the utilities from developers. So you didn't have that type of activity. The water utility, again, $171,000 increase. $13 million of net position. Net position is not fund balance. It is not something that you have, that is not cash. That is all your infrastructure, your towers, your mains, your meters, everything that goes along with your capital assets, less any related debt. So as of the end of the year, 13 million. Of that, about $2,048,000 is cash. All of that cash is unrestricted and available for spending at the management and the board's discretion. You did have a decrease in cash. There is a cash flow statement that's included within your audited statements. The water utility did see a decrease in cash of almost $500,000, mainly because of capital assets that were paid for with cash on hand versus borrowing for them.
Developers as far as revenue versus the salary or the increase?
So in
Like 30,000 for?
No, back in 2019, we had the Glen at Overlook Trails had some water and sewer contributed capital. That's what she's talking about. So the net position that has assets in it. So they had probably $500,000 worth of capital contributions to the village that we did not have in 2020 because there's no development that contributed anything this year.
Well, what amount did we add with the increase?
The
increase in fees?
Oh, the fees, that increase didn't start until December 15th of 2020, so that'll be for the first quarter of this year, but
So it
previously.
wasn't last month?
Correct.
there was some revenue increase in the water utility. There was an increase in customer revenue of about $100,000, but it wasn't necessarily due to the impact of the fee increase, just more consumption with people being at home.
Thank you.
The next column is your sewer utility. Again, a similar scenario. Overall, added $165,000 to fund balance. Revenue from customers was up $155,000 in your sewer utility. Again, had no contributed capital, and expenditures were relatively flat. So when you look at the addition to net position of 165,000 compared to the addition last year, which was 482,000, down, but again, the main contributing factor was the no capital contribution. That 165 when added to beginning net position is 8.4 million. Same scenario as water. Again, not a representation of cash. Of that figure, 2.774 million is cash. Again, all unrestricted and available for spending at your discretion. The sewer utility also saw a decrease in cash during the year of $309,000. Again, a byproduct of additional capital assets that were paid for using cash on hand. The very last column here is your self-insurance fund. You're self-insured for dental. And this column represents that activity. You charge the various departments, you pay your claims, added 20,000 to net position and had 227 as of the end of the year. The next page, I've just highlighted the long-term obligations of the village. This can be found on page 54 of your footnotes in significant detail. Just want to point out a couple things here. Governmental activities, $18 million of long-term obligations. Of that, 16.4 million is general obligation debt. So that's borrowed money that the village has to pay back. A business type, which is water and sewer, again, 4.3 million of long-term obligations. Of that, roughly 4 million is debt. A portion of that is general obligation debt, and part of it is revenue bonds. General obligation debt, you pledge taxing authority. Revenue bonds, you pledge revenue from the utility activity. So when you compare that to your debt capacity, that bottom paragraph, you have the ability to borrow 5% of your equalized value. That equates to $71.8 million. As of the end of 2020, you had almost $20 million of general obligation debt outstanding, so your capacity to borrow is roughly $52 million as of the end of the year. Just one other item to note, there was no new long-term obligations that were entered into, and the village paid down roughly $2 million of debt for 2020. On the very last page, I've included a couple bullet points here. This is really information that is included in your other bound document, the one with the picture on the cover. Again, not going to go through this in any significant detail, just want to point out a couple high points. Included in there are some comments and recommendations, best practice type items. There's a section in there that is our required communication, things we need to share with you under our standards. Again, nothing unusual or unexpected in there. There is a section in there I encourage you to take a look at. There's several estimates that are included within your audited statements, and we are required to bring that to your attention, really remind you of that. Nothing new or different, but when you look at your OPEB liabilities, pension liabilities, depreciation, compensated absences, all of those figures are based on some type of estimation or actuarial type data. So we do review it as part of the audit process, believe them to be reasonably accurate, but again, encourage you to take a look at that. We continue another year with no audit adjustments, so that is noted in that section. That is an excellent thing. Don't have many clients that are able to produce materially accurate financial statements with no journal entries, so again, a very good scenario. And then lastly, there is a document in there that is included towards the back, 2 pages in from the end, which is the management representation letter that where we highlight some of the representations that are made to us as part of the audit process. Underneath there on that last page of the handout, I've included my contact information. I know I go through this very quickly, probably not short and sweet like I was asked, but I tried. But again, I am happy to talk through this with any of you in more detail, answer any questions you have, but I'd also be happy to answer any questions you may have now.
In the sewer utility, with a net income of $166,000, that's like maybe a sewer. I mean, is there any kind of numbers that profit that we should be generating or maintaining in that with an income of $166,000? That's like a sewer project. I mean, that's not. If we run into that money's gone. Do you have some statistics as far as what kind of percentage we should be maintaining on that, or are we undercharging in the sewer?
I think that the important thing to take a look at when you look at your utilities, because those numbers are somewhat skewed because they include depreciation, so you're building reserves for future system replacements. I think the important piece to look at is your cash flow statements. Are you cash flowing sufficiently to cover the needs of the utility and still allow you to do some capital type activity without having to go to the bond market or go to a bank and borrow money? So in your audited statements on page 28, there is a cash flow document that I would encourage you to take a look at. What you're really looking for is, do you cash flow from operations? So when you charge your customers, you pay your vendors, and you pay your employees, do you have enough left to make your debt payments, your principal and interest payments? You also have to pay the village, because the village has money that comes out of, well, a small amount out of sewer, but a larger portion out of water for their tax equivalent. And really, once you do that, do you have excess cash left? And if you can say, yes, we do, then you have money to do capital projects, you have items to do that. Now, again, both utilities during 2020 had negative cash impacts, but again, there was significant capital activity to the tune of over $800,000 in each of them. So again, that was a planned use of resources, but again, that's where I would take a look at that and watch for, what is the cash flow looking like on an annual basis.
Anyone else with questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Our next item on the agenda is a consideration of a motion to approve village board minutes from the May 24th, 2021, and the special village board meeting of June 3rd, 2021. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from both of those meetings. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have, I cannot use that, I'm sorry. The color just catches my eye. The next item we have is consideration of motion to approve the vouchers for payments in the amount of $1,834,390.46.
I make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $1,834,390.46.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have consideration of actions that are related to licenses and permits. We have consideration of a motion to approve operators, bartenders licenses. It is quite a long list. If the board does want me to read the list, I can. Otherwise, the list has been presented to each member. Do you prefer that I read them each? No, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the red names for the bartenders and operators license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the list of bartenders, operators licenses. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have consideration of annual renewal of licenses and permits expiring June 30th, 2021, for the various, I'm correct on this, right? Go into the public hearing now, correct? Thank you. We have various, I'm going to call them beer, wine, and liquor licenses. We do have to have a public hearing for those licenses. This is for, I'm going to open the public hearing, but just so anybody that comes and speaks knows, this is for Class B beer, Class B liquor, Reserve Class B beer, Class B liquor, Class A liquor, Class A beer, and Class A liquor, Class B beer, and Class C wine. Anybody that would like to speak on the licenses, liquor, beer, or wine licenses, any of them that were read, please step towards the podium at this time. At this time, the public hearing is open. I know the public hearing is open. Anybody that wants to speak in the public hearing can go to the podium. Do I have the list? I have to rescind. I wouldn't either. I take it nobody wants to speak in public hearing. I'm going to assume that. Last call, if someone wants to speak in the public hearing, please step towards the podium. Okay, at this time, we will close the public hearing. And Darlene, I'm going to need your help because I believe those are under all of these licenses, are they not? They're farther down the
My
bottom.
suggestion would be just taking them off here 1 through 7.
Oh, just read the license as
Just
is?
the type.
Okay.
and all the
Is that
information.
fair to the board? What I'm
Yes.
gonna do is read the license by type as opposed to the type of license and all the people applying for it.
Yeah.
It's in our packet, it just gets a little confusing. So, first, we will take the Class B beer, Class B liquor license. These are all consideration of motion to approve. It would be an entertained motion. So Class B beer, Class B liquor.
I make the motion that we approve the Class B beer and Class B liquor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion is carried. Then we have reserve Class B beer, Class B liquor license.
I'll make a motion to approve reserve Class B beer and Class B liquor license.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded for the Class B beer, to approve the Class B beer, Class B liquor. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion is carried. Now we have Class A liquor licenses.
I make the motion that we approve the Class A liquor license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Class A liquor licenses. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Now we have Class A beer license.
Make a motion to approve Class A beer.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Class A beer licenses. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have Class A beer and Class A liquor licenses.
I make the motion we approve the Class A beer and Class A liquor license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Class B beer licenses.
Make a motion to approve Class B beer license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we have, I'm sorry, all opposed? That motion carries. Now we have Class C wine licenses.
I make the motion we approve the Class C wine license. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Class C wine licenses. Discussion. All in favor?
Question?
Oh, yeah,
These are all renewals. None of these are brand new, correct?
Correct. they're all
Okay,
renewals.
I just wanted to,
All renewals.
correct. And there's no changes to them
okay,
either.
I just want to make sure.
I'm gonna take the vote again. We all just
sorry.
voted, but all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries for Class C wine license. The next item we have is consideration of motions to approve annual licenses that expire June 30th, 2021, not requiring a public hearing. First, we're gonna take amusement devices. This is for Beer Snobs, Enters, Flanagan Dorn, Legion Post, Hoggers, KNP Enterprises, the Phoenix, the Triangle Tap, and Sun Laundries LLC.
I make the motion we approve the amusement device license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the amusement device licenses. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
That motion is carried. The next item, we have our cabaret licenses. This is Steve Berger at Beer Snobs, Tabitha McBride. It says Bin 111. Can I just say
Oh,
Tabby's?
typo. Yes, this
We have a typo. It says Bin 111. It should read Tabby's. Tabitha McBride at Tabby's. Jack Gaudian, legend at Bristol Cone Pines. William Lay at Flanagan Dorn Post 294. Patrick Enter for Enters, and Linda Anson for Hoggers Pub.
I make a motion to approve the cabaret license as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the cabaret licenses. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstained.
That motion is carried. Now we have licenses for cigarettes. We have Colburn's Car Wash, Cardinal Service, Fox Brothers Piggly Wiggly, Hartland Village Mart, Stop and Go, The Legend at Bristol Cone Pines, and Walgreens.
I make a motion to approve the cigarette licenses as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have weights and measures licenses. This is for Colburn's Car Wash, Beeble's True Value, Cardinal Service, Fox Brothers, Piggly Wiggly, Hartland Village Mart, Stop and Go, Sun Laundry, Walgreens, and Wisconsin Cement.
I'll make a motion to approve the weights and measures.
Second.
For those stated.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the weights and measures licenses. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have items related to Kiwanis, items related to Kiwanis for June 25th hometown celebration. First item being a temporary beer license, Class B beer license, and wine permit.
I'll make a motion to approve the Greater Hartland Kiwanis Club for the temporary Class B beer and wine permit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the temporary Class B beer wine permit for Kiwanis. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. For that same event, they also have a temporary operator's license request or submission for Suzanne Thomas. For
Make the
this.
motion we approve the temporary bartending license for Suzanne Thomas.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that temporary operator's license for the Kiwanis event on June 25th. Discussion.
Well, I just had a question. This is going back to the Kiwanis. There, it says on here just beer, it doesn't say wine.
It's the same type of permit, but they will only be serving beer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, now, go ahead.
I had a motion, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Sorry. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have consideration of a motion to approve a street use permit for Bristol Cone Pines on June 26th, 2021.
As you see, I put together a memo. The homeowners association reached out to us. They're looking at doing a concert in the park to celebrate their new playground area. It will only be one block of the road that is shut off. Everyone on Sweetbriar will have access out to the east. There were no signatures because nobody blocked. I did have a discussion with Torin about that, and he's comfortable with that since there is no effect on the neighborhood. And it sounds like it'll be 6 to 8 p.m., so it should be done at a reasonable time. Our police, fire, and I believe they've been invited and may stop by as well. So,
I move that we approve the street permit for Bristol Cone Pines, June 26, 21.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the event or the street closure at Bristol Cone Pines as it's listed in their documents for the event being held on June 26, 2021. Discussion. I do want to add for discussion and I'm not even sure what his exact title is, but the person assisting and kind of leading this and putting it together, I believe, is the HOA president, but has extended that to every single one of the elected officials, that if they would like to go, they're invited, and they'd like to see them up there if they can, but just wanted to make sure that was known.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have consideration of a motion to approve a special event for Birch Banyan, which includes the sale of alcoholic beverages.
So a little background of this. This will be at the bike race. This approval is just pretty much us telling the state of Wisconsin that we are aware of it. The actual permit is given through the state of Wisconsin, but they have to prove that they've had the discussion with the village board and that they're comfortable with it. It'll be Raised Grain Brewing. I believe they're one of the sponsors of the race as well. Do they sponsor all of the Toad races?
Yeah, they're the official brewery sponsor of all of
So,
them.
so they're just looking to come into her parking lot as part of this from 12 to 9.
I'll
Who's the
move that we
bartender?
approve the sale of alcoholic beverages for Birch Banyan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the special event and alcohol sales for Birch Banyan, the special event for Birch Banyan, which includes alcohol sales. I think we had a discussion.
Is the beer company supplying the licensed bartender?
Yeah, I believe that. Don't they bring
We
their
have a
own truck?
representative here, so.
Okay.
Trustee Plutak, owner of Birch Banyan Coffee. I actually remembered this time to do that. Yes, I am not actually selling. My staff is not actually selling. Raised Grain is coming themselves. They'll be outside on the property, so they'll be selling, they'll be serving, all
And they'll
that.
have the licensed
Correct.
bartender. Okay.
Correct.
Do we need that on any kind of record or anything for our?
We just got it.
Okay.
That's, and
I meant the person.
both of these items, it's strictly
Right.
us approving it. It's all the permit, everything is
Okay.
done through the state.
So the next
Okay.
one, you kind of.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask one question, Jesse. So you're putting this is going to be in the back parking lot?
No, they'll be in the driveway essentially.
Oh,
In my
okay.
driveway to the east of the building, so that they'll be visible from the sidewalk.
Okay, and
So-
I'm just throwing it out there, so, but all of this will be on, we're not gonna run any problems with any adjacent neighbor that might say, hey, you can't do that right here.
Nope,
We're
nope,
good.
I've already talked to US Bank next door.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm kind of curious, Jesse, and this
Yeah.
might be for the bid in general, and just because you're up here right now.
Yeah.
Were all these beverages placed in the beginning, were they in the beginning initial, when you brought all this to the board of how this event was going to take place?
I believe the only one we didn't know at the time was the beer garden, because we hadn't spoken to Pat at that point to see if he was willing to open it. So he is obviously willing to open the beer garden for the extra day. I believe, and I can't say 100% certainty because it's moving fast, but I believe we knew at the time that, because Raised Grain is the sponsor of the overall Tour of America's Dairyland event, and then Eagle Park next is the sponsor of our specific Hartland one, that's Jim Cope's company. So I believe we knew at the time, we just didn't necessarily know where they were going to go. Because I know that Raised Grain had talked to me about it, we just hadn't ironed out details. I believe Jim had talked about that with Eagle Park, but I'm honestly not positive the timeline.
Okay.
Yeah, the only one we did not know for sure was if Pat was willing to do the beer garden early.
Anything else? Anything else from anyone? Did you have any more?
No, I'm
Good.
done.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna call the question then, if no one has anything else. This is for a special event at Birch Banyan, which includes the sale of alcoholic beverages, as it was stated. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we have consideration of a motion to approve a special event for Eagle Park Brewing for the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, again, this is the same situation. This will actually be right next to us, right next to the library in the parking lot across from the Legion.
Right across from the Legion.
Yeah, like kitty
Parking
corner.
lot.
Okay.
On the north side.
Right next to the
And
drugstore.
will the Legion be open that night?
That I
Okay.
don't know. Trying to see.
Thank you.
Right off of Goodwin and
Yeah,
Hay.
so Eagle Park will be going in the back of the Designer Consigner building in that, screwy parking lot. The Legion will be open that night, but they do not plan to serve outdoors. We asked them if they wanted to, and they just plan on having a normal night inside.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event for Eagle Park Brewing for the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a special event for Eagle Park Brewing for the sale of alcoholic beverages. This brewer, I'm guessing, that's the same situation, correct?
Yep.
This is all through the state,
Correct.
so that it's 100% up to them to make sure that they have someone that's got a bartender's license there, and it's all on them. Okay. I've got to ask it, and there is clearance of the building owner that this is fine?
Yes. Yes.
And we will be getting their signature, correct? I just,
I assume so. Well, not on that one, but I assume it's the same.
you got it, okay.
The gym is approved, there's emails in it.
Okay. Thanks.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, it's discussion. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
This bike race was brought to us as something to support Heartland businesses. Now we've got two brewers in town that aren't from Heartland that are serving alcoholic beverages, that are taking away from potentially the other businesses in town. So how is that benefiting the businesses of Heartland?
I won't know until we see it. How it benefits the rest of the village. That's me personally. That's,
I agree with you, Jeff. Yeah,
You know?
And,
It was sold to us as, oh, this is gonna help Heartland. the businesses of Hartland. And it's turning out not that way.
I don't.
In all fairness, we have offered to every single bid business that if they would like to have a booth, if they would like to relocate with a tent or something in front of the like Zesty Palmer's Tabby's area, because that part of Capitol is closed.
How did you inform the businesses? Because I'm a part of the bid.
We have sent multiple emails and multiple notifications that any bid business can get involved. Unfortunately, this is what happens with events every time, is people are given their options and then they come after the fact upset that they did not take up those options.
I'm not upset about taking up the options. I'm upset that when it was first brought to us, it was to help the businesses of Hartland. The breweries were never brought up when you guys were here the first time.
Okay. Like I
They
said,
were
I
not
don't
brought
recall
up.
the exact timeline. I honestly
Okay,
don't.
this was for the businesses of Hartland.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now we get two breweries from outside of Hartland.
Okay.
So I'm just upset about that.
I mean, Raise Green, like I said, is the official sponsor of the entire event. So that's not something that we chose. That's something that's the Tour of America's Dairyland event. Eagle Park, excuse me, I was drawing a blank. My understanding, I cannot speak, there's no one here representing Jim, so I cannot speak to that, but my understanding is, I think it's pretty public knowledge that Jim hopes to at some point get some sort of tap room with that company in Hartland. I know I've heard those rumblings for years, so I can only assume this is his time to try to advertise a little bit to see if there's interest. Again, that's my assumption, there's no one here to speak on behalf of Jim. But it's not remotely unusual to have sponsors be at events.
So then, original,
Wait till Jeff.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm done.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Okay.
I yield the floor.
I'm sorry. So then Raised Grain Brewery, whatever, it was an assumption that because they're a sponsor, that they were gonna be there all along. So why wasn't that brought in originally?
Like I said earlier, I really thought it was. I'd have to go back in my notes. This is not like a brand new sudden thing. So I really think it was part of it originally, but I guess I don't have anything in front of me.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Anybody else? Anybody else? So we have it's been moved and seconded for a special event for Eagle Park Brewing for the sale of alcoholic beverages in the location that was stated. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Now we have items, these are items that were referred from the Park and Recreation Board meeting. The first item is discussion and consideration of the installation of QR codes in Nixon Park.
Dave Felkner, Utility Supervisor with Alex Lemke. We're looking to have a discussion and possible consideration to put QR codes in Nixon Park. These QR codes will advertise local businesses. You can scan it, and the restaurants will pop, bars will pop, pharmacies will pop, battery products will pop.
Yeah.
So you can put whatever you like on this. They're looking to place 4 of them in Nixon. They want to place 3 at every shelter around a splash pad, and they also want to put 1 in the kiosk down by the Fine Arts Center. Here's Alex to explain more, and I'll step out of his way.
So yeah, he said that we're seeking approval for QR codes in Nixon Park to be linked to a site that will have this advertising information for local businesses in Hartland. So local businesses can participate to bid or be partnered sponsors with the site that's being supported by Rotary, and so Rotary would be facilitating these vendors and allowing them to participate on the site and
You can just take a minute.
okay.
He's done.
So yeah, this site would be pretty much a site with local park information, community information, and events, and it would have partnered sponsors that would pay to Rotary, ergo the village, to be on that site monthly. And so what we want to do is have about four QR codes around the park, so visitors can just use their smartphones, put their camera over it, and it will link them to a site that can have local information and also local food, local events, activities, businesses in Hartland that wouldn't be seen if someone just searched on Google. It's someone who's at the park. It's for that audience at Nixon Park. So what we just would like to see if we can get approval from you guys to put up these QR codes.
I have a couple questions, if I could, for the other people who mentioned. I do want to ask, now, is there someone from the Rotary representing this? Okay, so the Rotary, if I'm not mistaken, is sponsoring this quest, let's call it. And you're going to be facilitating the managing
Yeah, the
and
web
handling the QR codes. And the Rotary will place these QR codes in the parks, and then they will go to the local businesses, and they will charge those local businesses so that they can pop up on the QR codes.
On the site that the QR code is linking to, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then if, let's say they get 100 businesses to do that, whatever it costs to administer, or 20, whatever it is, whatever it costs to administer that,
Yep.
let's say, for simplicity, let's say it costs $20 to administer it,
Yeah.
and they collect $100, $80 will stay with the Rotary as a fundraiser, should we call it.
That's what I am led to believe, yes. It would be ran that way, that Rotary would take in their percentage and then they would give the village.
And what do you anticipate it truly costing to facilitate something like this? Cost?
To run the site?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I have laid out inside at the invoice at the end, disregard the dating because this was supposed to be seen a month earlier. But we're trying to do a trial run, and so pretty much after approval, there would be a payment to me for development, a 50% down payment, and then it's just an $80 a month hosting fee every month, along with Google Analytics. What else did I put in here? Sorry. Yeah, Google Analytics, domain name acquisition, web hosting services, and development and design of the website.
Do you have an estimate on the development and design before you get into the monthly, so it's $80 per month?
$1,000 total, 50% upfront, 50% later.
Okay, yeah, I think so. The reason I ask is, and I understand it's coming from the park board, one of the fears that I have is not that it's not an outstanding idea, and I respect the Rotary a lot, and I do. My fear is, if we were to do this, every single not-for-profit that wants to do it, and it becomes a competition going at those businesses, we can't say no once we open that door.
Okay.
And I'm just saying for myself. Now, there's not a motion on the table, so I'm going to be careful how far I go. So I'm going to yield, but I'm very hesitant to do that. Who was? Robin.
I have a question. So I did follow your link, so to see the demo of the site, which was great. We also have the Explore Hartland, so that was just where I was going as well, because it looks fairly similar. Obviously not the design, so I'm not knocking the design, I'm just saying that the quality of life is, I think, what we're trying to showcase here in the village of Hartland. So you go there, you see the local shops, the dining, the chamber, all of the Rotaries on there, there's all these different things. So I just wanted to know what the difference was between the two sites, because our parks will be promoting one site, but our water towers are promoting a different one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I wasn't sure if the park board had discussed that or not. I don't know who to direct that question to.
They have not.
We did not.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question.
Yep, I yield.
Donna, and then Ann.
Okay.
So
Jeff
I-
had his hand up too. You can go after Ann. Just keep it all in order. Yep,
No,
pleasure.
no,
Sorry.
I had the exact question of the Discover or the same thing that we have on our water towers, that it didn't, we're conflicting with our messages now. And I think until we have a clear view of our website and of this, what we have on our water tower. And there was something that another business had brought forward. It was a app, if I remember correctly, that you could download a Hartland app, kind of the same that businesses could get involved with, and didn't go very far. Yes, that one came through as well, and I just think that right now my personal opinion is that there's just a lot of mixed messages, and we've got to get our own message out there first before anything moving forward. That's what I have, so I yield.
Ann, and then Jeff.
Okay. I agree with what's been said, and again, I was gonna ask about the Explore Heartland also, because I don't think that one's being utilized as much as we thought it would. And keeping this up to date, I think is very important. And if, okay, so let's assume ABC company is paying the Rotary, and they say, okay, for next week, I wanna change it to say this. Would they call Rotary? Would they call you? Who do they call?
They could call Rotary or me directly. I would, since I would be developing this site, I would be also a part of the relationship with the vendors because I would be the one putting their content up there. I'd want to communicate with them with what they would want. So
Are you your own company then?
I'm a freelancer,
Okay.
so I'm just
Okay.
a contractor.
And that was already asked. And anyone, it isn't just the bid members, anyone?
No, we want to focus on Hartland. We want to focus on people in like.
Would it be just the bid members then? Because that's a business improvement district, or would it be any business in Heartland?
It would be any it would be businesses relative to the audience going to the park. So people who are with their kids and they would want to maybe find local dining or local activities or summer activities, or if they want to look for daycare, dog care.
So would it be then any business that has a Heartland address?
I would prefer, yeah, Hartland business first. So it's a community.
Who makes that decision?
That's a good. I would say that would come up to. We would want to be approved by you guys and with what Rotary would want to do. But I'm willing to reach out to local businesses. We do have about 7 or 8 that are interested right now, like Harper Cafe, Falbo's Pizza. Some, I think you said Greenwood Bank was also interested. And so it's just, we're kind of taking a test run right now. We want to gauge it because this is supposed to come to you earlier. So we wanted to do it maybe a test run this summer, see if you guys like it, and then review it at the end of the year if you wanted to go into the summer ahead of time, like spring setup into the summer before Splash Pad opens with a more robust, aggressive plan with more certainties.
Well, I do think that we need to get our Explore Heartland running better first, is my opinion, but I yield to you, Jeff.
I agree with Jeff, I agree with Ann, I agree with Donna. We need to get Explore Heartland out there first. I think that this could open a can of worms with letting a lot of other businesses that aren't in Heartland into it, because how are you gonna turn them down? It's discrimination at that point. So, yeah, I've gotta say no to this.
I would just respond that if a business approached us from outside of Heartland and they're not a part of Heartland or within the jurisdiction of the city or the village, then they wouldn't be considered, is what I would say. And if someone would want to come in and try to steal someone's spot, that's a good question, a good concern to have. But we were thinking that about 10 sponsors paying about $25 to $50 a month from within Heartland, I think would be within their spending range and in their interest to be in that audience. But I understand your concern.
I yield.
One follow-up question for the Rotary, but you don't have to be in business in Hartland to be in the Rotary. I mean, it's the Lake Country Rotary, right?
No, but
So-
that's correct.
Sure, I don't know. Are you here for the Rotary, right?
Yeah, I'm a member of the Rotary as well.
Oh, all right.
The Hartland Rotary led the desire to build the splash pad and also contributed to the band shell, and has been always loyal to also putting the clock downtown on the 5 points, and has always remunerated everything by putting the money back into the community. And would like to also help out with the rink that's going to be discussed, and also would like to one day have some sort of memorial to the emergency medical or the emergency services. We want to do something about that in the future too. And so, as everybody else has fundraising ideas, this was an idea that was brought up because it was something where someone said, gee, all these people are coming from out of town to the splash pad and they don't know what is available, and if we could tap into the local food service places, Cousins, Domino's, whatever, people could just go up to this thing, there it is, and now they say, oh, Domino's will deliver with $5 off. And if we would limit it just to Heartland, would be just fine with us. I mean, if it could only be in the Hartland area, that's what it is because it's people at the thing. Would it work or not? You know, we had to try it. We have to try and find out. And the Rotary was willing to come up with $1,000 to get the site up and going. And the $80 a month is to basically maintain it and stay on top of the vendors and make sure that they're getting what they deserve from the money that they're paying. But the money would go back to the Hartland area as it always has with the Rotary. So, you know, our idea, I don't know that much about Hartland Explore, but who's working it? Is it just something that's created?
It's an initiative from the Heartland bid, which is
Right.
the business improvement
Okay.
district, so it's their.
Are there,
economic development.
somebody's, okay, yes, okay. Well, if that duplicates what's going on, that's fine, but the thrust of this was getting the people to have some sort of food. Somebody said that there's the barrels are full of all sorts of food that people have brought and stuff from the splash pad, so here was an idea to do that. So that was the idea behind that. There's a lot of dogs on the Thursday and Friday night concerts at the band shell. If somebody wants to have a pizza or something other than what Enders is selling, and Mr. Enders was not upset about this idea, it was like, okay, let's see if we can maybe get a little something going. So that was all it was meant to be. And you know, we don't want to step on anybody's toes or give anybody a hard time, but it was just an idea. And little 4-inch by 4-inch plaques that would have the thing that you can just take a picture of with your camera, and you immediately have all these things. There's no litter involved with it, with printing a lot of stuff and a lot of missed kind of things. So it would seem like a good idea. If some other public service wanted to be doing something on this too, and they want to sell to some other businesses, more power to them. I mean, they can use the same QR code, and we could split the money that they make if that would be the thing that they want to do. But you know, Hartland, the Rotary in Hartland has decided that this would be an idea worth pursuing, and we wanted to get permission, obviously, to do it. So that's why this all came about. Any other questions for the Rotary?
I don't have no other questions. I mean, I'll have comments if we get a motion, but no other questions. Thank you. Or not for myself, I should add, anybody else with questions, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we could entertain, those negative emotions, or negative motions are never really good. We could entertain a motion to approve this. We could table this, or postpone it for a month or two. We can do, you know, what, you guys know how it works. We can entertain any type of motion that we want.
I'll make a motion to table it. I would like the Rotary to have a conversation with bid. I guess I don't know what my motion should be then, just to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. Because there is, that way we don't have conflicting messages going out there, and then both organizations get an opportunity to chat with one another to his comments before we make a motion to just deny everything. Because what if there is an opportunity for collaboration? And we just don't know what that is yet. Right?
Right, and what if there's an opportunity to, I'm sorry, what if there's an opportunity for, you know, us to work with this young man on developing our website, you know, to get that going? Because nobody's done anything with it yet.
Yeah, we gotta look into why.
Yeah. But again, what Robin said, to talk to the bid about it. If you guys can, if the Rotary wants to talk to the bid and we table it for how long, I don't know.
So I'd like to
Yeah, go ahead.
second Robin's motion, but I would like to add to it, if it would be okay with Robin, to Trustee Lucky, if it would also be in conjunction with our website being redone too, as I know that it had been in the works, but I would like all of that to work together. I think it's a great idea, but I'd like to see all those pieces together.
Can you restate the motion just?
Yeah, I was trying to remember what I
And
said.
I mean, with that added caveat.
I said I'd like to make a motion to table it until the bid and the Rotary had an opportunity to meet and discuss both websites and ideas And then I will add in trustee Doral's comments as well, and then work with our village staff as to what we're looking at for our website and future efforts.
And I'll second
It's been moved and seconded to table this, or postpone how long? A month?
Within 2 months, I think is. I
To,
think enough
to
time.
postpone for 2 months. Postpone for 2 months so that there's time for coordinated conversations, and
Discussion
meetings,
about district
discussions
stuff,
between these factions before it comes back up. Those factions being the bid, other nonprofits, the village staff, and that sort of thing. So it's been moved and seconded. We would open up for discussion for myself, and I want to say to the board one thing. I understand, and I think that the trustees that made and seconded the motion are 100% correct, that there should be some talk on this. Having, and I'll just come out and say it, having a not-for-profit be included in what I consider fundraising and utilizing the parks, which are for every single thing. Every single taxpayer may not agree with that not-for-profit. The parks are paid for by every single resident in this village. I personally, and as you've known from the past, I try to keep those separate. The village is a government. We are here to work with the organizations that propel us forward, Rotary being one of them. There's various other ones out there that also do that, but I can't stand behind the meshing those two together. Fundraising along with taxpayer-funded land and things of that nature. So,
I have a question. Are you done?
I am.
Just a question. When we say website, are we talking about the Hartland Village website, or are we talking about Explore Hartland website?
They're talking about the Explorer.
That's what I'm asking about. That's a landing page. Donna's saying
No,
no.
we're talking about the Hartland
Village.
Village website.
Oh,
Explore
I'm sorry, you made the
Hartland
motion,
is a landing page. That's not a website. There's a big difference between
Who
that.
handles our website right now for the Village of Hartland?
Civic Plus and all of the
I'm
staff.
sorry?
Name of the company is
Civic Plus.
Civic Plus.
Okay.
And all of the staff are the ones who physically update and put everything on it.
And are we having an issue with it?
Nope, but we discussed at our strategic planning that we were looking at new logos and website and things like that.
I see. Okay.
So just making sure that we're.
Okay.
I think that's assuming what the purpose was. I don't want to speak.
For a calendar date. Can you give me a date? I didn't get
You want to use my glasses?
it. Nope, I got it. June, July,
So August.
July 19th.
No, that's one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. August 10th, 9th. Which one do you want? Which date? 23rd? 23rd.
Thank you.
So the motion was to postpone until the 23rd for conversations to happen to see if this is a good idea and if this is the right thing to do. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you for your time.
Now we have discussion and consideration of installation of a boat launch signage at Centennial and Nixon parks. This is also again referred to from the park board and I believe recommended based on their memo.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Yogers. I am the Recreation Director for Village of Hartland, and I have Dr. Jim Mutzenberger here with us. He's on several of our committees here. And we are coming to you guys to propose 3 signs. The first one, as you are all aware, the Kiwanis has been leading the cleaning of the Bark River with other committees joining in and helping out other organizations. Well, this is a time for us to advertise. The Bark River Bash, which was headed by Kiwanis on May 1st, was a very successful event. And it is believed it's time to put in canoe and kayak boat launch signs at Centennial Park. The location was we talked about it with Scott Hussinger. On your GIS Waukesha County map is kind of a location that he is proposing. We have to be careful because it's a flood zone. And then going downstream, right before the bridge on Park Avenue, we would like to put a sign on the west side of the bank on village property that says Kayak, Canoe, launch up ahead on the left, correct?
Exit ahead.
Exit ahead. And then we would obviously put a sign in Nixon Park saying both Canoe and Kayak launch at Nixon Park as well. And Dr. Jim can give more information.
Sure. Kelly's kind of put a lot on it already here. We have an opportunity to, promote now this new asset that's been created, and people can, go on websites. They can find that and we can, pin it, that we can, now have this asset available to use. They can come to Hartland and get in and use the river. So this part is just more of the wayfinding side of that. Once you're in the parking lot, go here, and you can get in the river. When you're in the river, here's the best place to get out, so you don't have to struggle with it. And I think that's pretty much simply what we're looking for.
Yeah, show people that they can use it, really. If they see it, they'll want to use it.
When I was your age, I did a lot of canoeing. And when I went down the river, I never looked for a sign. I was on a river because it was a river. But when I found I want to stay here, I want to sleep on this sandbar tonight, or I want to go, I'm going to go there. I don't want to have the Bark River, which is our great asset, I don't want to have it turn into a Highway 83 or, Brookfield Square. People know when the hell to get out of a river. And if we're going to go there, we got to have a launch. If we're going to have a launch, okay, it's going to be sand, okay? Who's going to pay for that sand? Who's going to maintain it? Oh, we're going to make it wood. Who's going to do that? Now we got a maintenance thing that we're going to have to set these up. And how many launches and how many takeouts do we have in a damn river? I mean, if you can't paddle all the way down, you shouldn't be on that little baby river. Now, when we go all the way to Delafield, that might be something else. But I just don't want anybody to mess up our river by putting a sign up there saying, "Oh, hot dogs, hamburgers," we don't want that stuff. And I sure don't want our DPW to have to maintain a launch. How do you launch a gosh darn canoe? You throw it in the water, you stand there, you always wear tennis shoes, you get in it, when you get out, you stand in the water, you throw the boat out. We don't need a boat launch. So I'm against messing with our river, and I don't want to have the DPW have to do it. And I just don't like it.
We are actually not proposing to completely redo the landscaping. We're just kind of informing people, hey, don't be afraid to use our river. Get your kayak, throw it in. We're not redoing any of the slope. It's actually really nice and very easily jump in, jump out on your own. We don't have to do that. That's getting a little too technical. Our river is very nice where it's easy just to get in and out. That's what we had the people do during the Bark River Bash. Jim has done it himself with his wife or daughter, and it's kind of a natural launch,
So when the village undertook, some remodification of the riverbank, if you ever look close, there's multiple sandbag heights that were done for erosion control. The areas that we selected just happened to be easier approaches. Somewheres along the bank, even like by the Legion, I mean, those banks are, shoulder high. You're not going to get out of there. No, common sense can dictate, as Trustee was saying here. But so the inward portion, we were just marking because this is the easiest place to get in. The outward portion we were marking because this is the easiest place to get out. And that was just simply for ease of use for some maybe inexperienced people. Obviously, people who are more adept at canoeing are going to go in and out where they want to. So we were just doing it as a convenience. That's all.
Yeah, just give them an idea. Like, hey, don't be afraid to go down our river. I mean, it's kind of cool. You go through a city,
How many people went down the river on that Saturday?
We had 65 vehicles in
Oh,
there.
that guess it's a big secret. They can't go down that river. We got 60 people. I mean, I went down there the next day and there was 3 or 4 boats on the shore. So, I mean, now that we got it open, you did a hell of a job getting that river open. That's the biggest thing. We got it open, we got people down in Nixon Park, which is our base. You know, that's our jewel. And if we can get that down, I don't think they, gotta tell them where they are. You know, put it on, I know what's gonna happen, the DPW, well, there's mud here and we can't get in and out, we can't get this launch going, and this is too high, and then the river's too low, get rid of those rocks. We can't touch the rocks, the DNR won't let us. You know, so I mean, it's like, I'm just real leery of, let them go and enjoy it, let them have fun without restrictions, and take out what you want and put in what you want. So if I'm, you know, by the fire station, I wanna throw it in the river, I'm gonna throw it in the river there and go down. Why do I have to wait, I have to go Centennial, I have to go, you know, I don't wanna do that. It's personal, I'm sorry, I probably won't do it. I'll do my own launch.
Jeff, you requested the floor.
I understand where Mike is coming from, but the question I have, and I hate to be this guy, what about legality? If we put a sign there that says it's a launch site, and now somebody takes that as, oh, this is a launch site, and they happen to twist an ankle, or because the village told them they can launch here, and I don't know, that's why I'm asking, but maybe we should even ask Hector, our village attorney, if we can get in trouble. And like I said, I hate to even think about this, but the way people are these days, everybody sues for different reasons. And now we put a sign up that says, yes, you can launch here. So now somebody launches there and twists an ankle. Well, now is it the village's responsibility? Because we put a sign there that it's a launch? I just think that we need to think this out a little bit more.
Are you done?
Yes, I yield.
I don't want to start putting signs out at the river, because where do you stop? When do you tell the next person they can't put a sign out saying, if you get out here, there's hamburgers or beer or whatever? And also, wouldn't we have to get the approval from the DNR? Because we can't even cut the grass, if I'm correct, up to the riverbed. We have to leave, what is it, 3 feet? Because I asked about that, because I couldn't get up to see the river, and I was upset, and I went to you guys, and you said, oh, no, the DNR says we can't even cut the grass for 3 feet.
These signs would be mounted outside the wetland area.
So we wouldn't have to have DNR permission.
That is correct.
So then how would somebody on the river see it?
Well, you're only a little bit from the bank, and so as long as the grass isn't so high.
Well, we're not cutting the grass at all, though.
I mean, there's a certain height you can cut the
Yeah.
grass to.
Correct.
Yes,
We
and
can
so
take
you
it
don't
to
have to
6
have a
inches.
3-foot tie, yeah,
We can take it down to 6 inches.
yeah.
Because they need to maintain root stability
Yeah.
for riverbank restoration.
I just, when billboards, all of a sudden they all start popping up. I don't like it. The liability and the work and maintenance. So I done.
Anybody else? I think it sounds like a really good idea. I think that it's great that, with the cleaning up of the river, I really do. I think it's great to see people, I know people from Hartland are starting to go down it. Some are even going on stand-up boards, and then they sit down going under the bridges, so people are starting to find that out. I'm not saying never, I just want to see how it goes. I am strongly opposed to the putting it on a GIS map. I actually feel that if a ton of that, I don't feel that that river and the saturation of that river, especially like in the springtime and times like that, if it really gets pummeled a lot, not everybody has the right and the legal right, that is a navigable waterway. And by law, that is public property on that water, but I don't necessarily want to put up signs. And then let's say we do have a branch that falls. If that branch falls, we have time to get it out of there, but there is an expectancy from the village. If all of a sudden a branch falls and you can't get down the river anymore, and there's people that come from 15 miles away to go in, they're gonna be like, it hinders us. Plus, I don't know the legality of, if we create that, can you ever take it away? You know, we see these fights on lakes and things like that, where it's like, oh no, this is just our private boat launch for this lake, and a lot of times the state comes in and says, no, that water belongs to everybody. You can't, do that. So I'm hesitant to really open it up that way. I want to see people to continue use it. I don't think it's necessary to have a launch. I'm done.
To add to yours, there's one other thing we don't have control of that actually happened, I think, Ryan, it was what, 2 years ago? 2 years ago that Merton opened up the dam and it flooded even the path, it was bad, and we have no control over that. So that would be another legal issue. So, or could be.
I would,
I'm done.
if it was up to me, I'd like to see us postpone it for 1 year. Let's see the rest of the summer and try to keep an eye on, and I don't know exactly how we'll do that, but let's see what we can do to maybe keep an eye on how many people are using it. I think Bark River Bash did, and I think other things are gonna happen in the village. You know, now the party in the park is right next to the river. There's things happening, the beer garden, and like Bark River Bash, there's gonna be a continued focus. I truly believe that that's gonna continue to add to people realizing that they can go down that. In my opinion, I think I'd like to see us wait a year. You know, put it off and let, you know, maybe, that's my thought on it. I guess I don't beat a dead horse, but.
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd move to, well, we could not make a motion, we can just let it. Okay, so just to make, for clarity, because we've run into this before, we're gonna, I don't believe, anybody that wants to can make a motion. I believe no one is going to make a motion, and by doing that, what the board is affording ourselves the right to do, just so you guys know, if all of a sudden someone says, no, let's kill this, we don't want to give that, I don't, and I don't think anybody here wants to give some negative thing to what could be a good idea. We want to just wait, it sounds like about another year, and let's just keep an eye on it and see. So thank you for bringing that item forward. The next item we have on this agenda is discussion and consideration of installation of an ice rink in Nixon Park. This also is coming from the park board.
Again, Kelly Yogers, Recreation Director. We've had some individuals approach some park board members, and I believe some park board members feel strongly about this having an ice rink at Nixon Park. It would not be the old school flood the parking lot or flood grass and put snowbanks along the side. It would actually be a portable ice rink that we would take down, put up when the weather is appropriate for it. In your packet, you should see pictures of the ones at City of Delafield, right by Oakwood Church, and the ones at Village of Sussex. We went over there, took pictures last winter when this was brought up. This would be similar to what we would have. The staff and park board would like to have a 52 by 100. And the quote is also in there, and that's what everything is included in that quote. That quote is for $5,170.98. That does include a liner that would just be good for 1 year because staff, especially DPW staff, their thoughts are to replace that liner every year. I talked to Village of Sussex, and they do replace their liner every year just to avoid holes and cuts and animals chewing through. The liner is a little over $500, so that's something that's definitely, I feel, is doable. Now, we've been brainstorming ideas of how to possibly raise money for this, and we're talking about possibly throwing out 3 sponsorships. That is also in your memo. Where did I put that? Silver sponsor is $500 for 1 year. We would put like a smaller banner up around the ice rink, recognizing that sponsor. Gold, $1,000 for a 2-year sponsor. They'd get like a 3x6. It would be placed a rink for 2 years recognition for the sponsor, and then if somebody wants to do $5,000, a 3-year sponsorship and naming rights for 1 year, and they would get a bigger banner. Everything, the height is 3 feet, and then we would go out for the width, just because then it would look like a nice wall, clean lines and everything, but recognition. So I believe that's everything in there. I do have information that I pertain from City of Delafield and Village of Sussex for their cost of rink size, use of water, liner, ice maintenance. I don't know exactly why the difference. like the cost of Rink 10,000 to 4,500. I'm thinking it's just their packages. When you go, it's kind of fun. If you go to nicerink.com, you can build your own packages, like the size of the ice rink, the liners, what you want. So I'm assuming they just probably did tweaks. City of Delafield, their liner, they replace it every few years. So that's another reason that the price is up higher than that. But their size is 100 by 5 by 55 and then 64 by 160. So, but those are custom sizes that they would do. Yes.
Quick question, who would be in charge of the maintenance of this? Once you get the water on there and it freezes, and we get a 5-inch snow, who's in charge of clearing that off? Or when the people go, do they clear it off, or who resurfaces?
DPW does that, and all the other communities, DPW does that, and I've seen like a shovel to the side, like if a little dusting of snow comes, you know, at night after DPW, they just kind of sweep it off to the side.
Would we have to pay them overtime on Saturdays and Sundays to go in there and, I mean, that could end up being.
That is a DPW question, because that would be probably part of their weekend hours.
What are you anticipating as a cost for maintenance on that?
It's minimal. All we're told is that all you need to do is add water, and then it comes with a shaver. All you do is it takes off the high spots off the ice.
What about when it snows? Say we get a 5-inch snow on Saturday night, do you guys have to go in on Sunday?
Then, yep, then that'll be it.
And is that time and a half for our employees?
That is.
Okay.
So the discussion is, if that happens on a weekend, if there's a snow event, do we leave it closed until Monday morning during business hours and then be cleared?
And then how would you clear it? Let's say we get a 10-inch snowfall, how are you gonna clear it?
You go on there with a snowblower.
Okay.
The wall's only 18 inches high, so
Okay.
that won't be a problem.
Okay. I'm done.
That price, by the way, Tim Holoquist, Park Board, that price that she mentioned, that does not include DPW costs for
No.
setup and maintenance. So
It's
that's,
just
that's the actual product itself. So I just want to let you know that. So I think what we're asking is that the village initially pays for it while we go out and solicit, while Kelly solicits the businesses to see if we can find a naming rights person that, you know, to fork out, you know, $5,000. And I think it's 3 years for naming rights, not 1. So, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, Rick, can you remember that?
It was, that's what it says.
I think it's 3-year
but I think
sponsorship,
it's-
but the first, like the 1 year you're named and then.
I thought it was 3 years for the naming
Okay.
rights. So it's, I mean, you know, I think it's a great thing, and to give you a little bit more of the layout, because I've heard a lot of people are upset with the light pole, flag pole that would be in the middle of it. They purposely changed and moved the light pole into the middle of the rink. It was like, what did we move it, 6 feet or something like that?
Right.
So we moved it 6 feet, and the lights that were put up this year are permanent lights, so that we don't have to move them. And so we were going to just have more of a family function of just going around in a circle. We were gonna put like a pad, kind of like similar to a goal post on a football field. We're gonna put a pad around the light pole, so that anybody that ran into it would not get hurt. And we've had some suggestions about somebody playing some hockey out there. I think maybe let's walk before we run on that. Let's just try and make it more of a family recreational skating right now. Besides, it's pretty small too, so I don't know if it's enough room for hockey.
Did you look at Hartbrook Park to put this instead of Nixon? To me, I think there's more open.
Nixon has where the rink used to be.
When I was growing up, yeah, we used to go skating there.
Okay.
The parking lot.
Yeah, was that 70, 80 years ago? Anyway,
Yeah.
no, where the beer garden is, there's a berm, a natural berm that's there, and so we were going to utilize that.
Yeah.
so to keep the water in.
Oh, okay.
There's also the warming house.
Yeah.
Right.
It used to be nice.
The war-
getting
yeah.
out there.
Right,
Which I
right.
believe the warming house is gonna be kind of reconstructed a little bit.
And this would be for the public and families?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then we have the lights already. The beer garden said they'd leave the lights up so we could light it at night.
Okay.
We would have, whatever the hours would be, the police would come by and turn out the lights, lock it up, 9 o'clock at night or whatever.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people that I've mentioned to in there, that's a great idea. And it's adding to the park, It's giving that family that, winter ice skating chance after dark, and one light in the middle, so it's not gonna be overly bright. It's gonna be like kind of a Saturday Evening Post type look that I want, so I think it's a great idea.
Well, the only issue that we currently have right now is bathrooms. We're looking into whether or not the plumbing is set up so we can kind of keep the water on in the bathrooms, but yet turn it off everywhere else. Having heat in there. Otherwise, we'd have to have a porta potty, and then we'd have to put some rubber mats down, because I'm sure those blades would go through the plastic. So those are things that we're looking at, and I think Dave is in the process of checking that out at the Fine Arts Center to see if those bathrooms would be open.
And then that's another thing that we would have a fund balance where when we get sponsorships, after we pay for the ice rink, the money would keep going in there to help pay for maintenance and, updating the warming shed and, help pay for those extra bonuses.
Yeah, the annual donations that we would be receiving would upkeep that. Also pay for the liners every year.
When looking at the how you're going to operate it, I strongly encourage that you do look into those bathrooms. And the reason I see, like when you look at the pictures, no one's going to want to take, and I don't know exactly how it works, but no one's going to necessarily want to take their skates off.
Right.
So even if they get to the bathroom, when they walk in there, those skates are going to get so dull if you walk into the bathroom, where I think going with portable restrooms or putting one down there might be the best way to do it. But I think that's like $75 a week. Some of you know better than I. But I mean, those are some things we'll have to look into.
We've talked about that, and we were gonna get rubber runners.
Yeah, that's what I
Going
mean.
to the bathrooms
Yep.
and the toilets and the urinals and that type
Yep.
of thing. So-
If we
Yeah, if you
can
look at
do
the
it that way,
pictures.
I think that's cheaper. But we
Yeah.
might have to figure out a way to line that
Yeah.
with some rubber during the winter.
Right.
You gotta get the water to be able to run in there during the winter.
Well, no, I
That's
said
the biggest
if that
That's
works.
what-
That's what
we're
they're
looking
talking
for.
about now.
The other thing I want to see an ice rink down there. I've heard that, one of the things that we've been doing a lot, I think everybody elected up here has been doing, between banners that are hanging up in places that they used to be and trying to make things more exciting with hometown celebration and just doing a lot of stuff. They used to have this in Hartland. They used to have an ice rink. Honestly, someday I hope that we see it without a pole in the middle of it. I really do. As a kid, I would go down in Wauwatosa, and it's in the Washington Highlands, but it was skate at your own risk. They came out, the firefighters came out, emptied a truck or a couple trucks worth of water. They just let it build. After that, unless there was a warm spell that melted it down and then it got cold again, like one year I think it was real warm in January. Anyways, it was almost like we had to take care of it. We had to shovel it off, walk around, and you'll even see in the pictures, I think one of the pictures that are in the packet shows a hockey player going around. Another one shows a hockey goal. Now, I don't think we should have to put in hockey goals. We always had to take our own cones. But with it being an ice rink, I think it'd be great. It's a great start. I would love to see it someday where there are people that are into figure skating would be able to do that. They won't be, someone doing skating backwards is going to rock that pole, and we wouldn't want to see that. But I think it's a great start, and I think it's something we need. I think it's something that the village wants. I have heard it around the village, and I think we need to start somewhere.
Well, you mentioned the lighting. If we didn't have that center post lighting right now, we'd have the two street lights, and that's not bright enough. And so when we redo the warming shed, there is a possibility of putting some lights up there, but that's down the road a little bit and probably a little bit more expensive than we want to go right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's
I'm for it.
depending
I'm
on
just
how
saying
much-
I want to keep an eye that someday we may not. Let's say we do have people come to us. This is a big hockey community. Also, we have one of the greatest high schools in the state. for hockey. We have people that are into ice sports. I hope that, there's Kettle Moraine Curling Club is over, if it's still running, and I think it is. But we have a lot of people that are into those types of things, and maybe someday that pole ends up becoming removed. But this is great for Hartland, regardless. I just want us to keep an eye on that. If we do have a bunch of people saying, come on, we want to play hockey, or I want to practice my figure skating out there, and there's quite a few people that want to do it, maybe it's something we talk about in the future. But I think this is a great thing for Hartland. I really do. If we can get someone to pay by putting some advertising and they pay for it, that's what I think we want to do. Hopefully it's Hartland businesses that want to do that.
The more donors we can get, the better we can make it.
Yep.
So.
I'd like to make a motion for the installation of the ice rink at Nixon Park.
I'll second.
Do we need to approve, just asking, you're making the motion, I want to clarify, that goes along with the prices that they've set forth? Obviously, they've stated it could be offset, correct?
Yes.
If you get enough money.
That's our goal,
Nothing will
yeah.
come out of the
We're
budget.
waiting for the
actually.
approval before we go out and solicit.
Understood.
Looking for this.
Sorry, and I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no problem.
So that, did you second it? It's been moved and seconded to approve the ice rink. Discussion.
Thank you. I did not get to ask my questions yet. So Ryan, my question would be, would we need to have extra insurance for this, for liability for the village, or is it covered over our?
I would talk to R&R Insurance, our insurance company. Generally, with any items like this, we have what's called recreational immunity. Same with the splash pad. If somebody does fall and get injured, we aren't. It's kind of it'll be a skate at your own risk type thing. But again, if somebody can prove that we were negligent with something, we always have risk. So we would just have to make sure it's maintained, or if it does snow, that we say, hey, it's closed. However we do, I would contact R&R Insurance. I'm not sure there would be huge insurance increase with this, if any. And again, this would be, with something like this, we'd probably purchase it out of corporate reserve in case we didn't get the funding right away. That way the park department could pay it back over a couple of years. But I don't use generally anything with insurance, very minimal risk with us.
Okay, just a question.
Yep.
No,
I do want to make sure that this ice rink is set up and advertised for family use, individual use, more so, because if somebody wants to practice their ice hockey and that you get a bunch of teenagers or adults or whoever out there playing ice hockey, we've already got Nagawicca and the Mullet Center for that, and they would take over the whole ice rink, and you get John Smith that comes down with his little 5-year-old daughter and wants to ice skate, and now he can't. I just want to make sure of the direction we're taking this.
That's the intent.
Okay.
With that being said, and I'm just gonna throw in, I would rather see us use times and notifications stating this is family skate time. I would hate for some kid that plays for Arrowhead to come down with some pucks and be like, hey, you're a hockey player, you don't wanna just skate in a circle, you can't come and hang out with a friend and do some passes back and forth. That's just my opinion.
Well, the boards are only 18 inches tall, so I don't think he's going to be shooting any pucks because nothing's going to stop him.
If you look at City of Delafield, they actually have nets up on the sides where the goals are for the hockey.
I could see something like set a time like from 3 to 5, do whatever, open, and then 5 to 9 family skate. Or something like
exactly.
That.
Yeah.
Yep. That's something we'll work on.
Go ahead.
Are you done?
Yep.
I just want to specify that I love it. I'm an advocate for it. I think it's great. I like to see like 3, 4, 5-year-olds out there learning how to skate. I'm still opposed to the pole in the center. I think it's a liability. So when we talk about looking at it, I can see people doing whipping, and I don't know if whipping is considered exempt from us, course of that, but I just have never seen it. Whipping, you grab the pole and start spinning, and I grab your hand and we just start whipping people around. I can see things like that happen. So from a liability standpoint, are we exempt from something like that with the pole being in there? I know I have to say, or ask Dave from DPW, I take it the pole is removable, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so if you're gonna put a hole in the liner, you gotta take it off first and put it there, so.
That's a 1-year liner,
Right,
so that'll be replaceable every year.
right. And it's just for convenience, but I guess I'm still, just want to put on record, I'm opposed to the pole in there because I see liability there. But the other thing is, if we get funding in that, or if, like Ryan said, that we can get it out of some corporate funding to do that, if we did get some donations, I'd almost rather see some of it go towards fixing the lining first and then paying it back over time.
We're trying to do it as cheap as possible right now.
I don't know, liability insurance, if somebody gets hurt, unless we get clearance, that's a lot more expensive than.
It will be important that we have signs that say skate at your own risk. I do believe that clears us a lot, or at least I know at other rinks it tends to. When there's not, just like when it says no lifeguard on duty, swim at your own risk, that municipality does not take.
Staff can check on that with R&R.
Staff will check on that in R&R. I know Dave will get the signs.
Okay.
Any other points of discussion? I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we have, coming from the park board, also, discussion and consideration, bless you, discussion and consideration of adoption of a food truck policy.
All right, in your packet is the revised food truck policy. Basically, do you want to talk about it?
Basically, we kind of rewrote this and kind of got rid of the truck and the cater terminology and just made food vendor. So it kind of catches more of a wide range of people. Basically, it just says that any non-profit or related to Hartland and a village related to Hartland is exempt from fees. Anybody outside the village, such as a food truck from Sussex that wants to come in, pays the fee, $75. It's been mentioned about the hometown or the party in the park or whatever, when vendors come in, outside vendors, that would be, people might think that's an exception, however, it is for profit for them as well, and so whether they pay or whether whoever's sponsoring it pays, the village is gonna get the money, and the outside vendors need to be all licensed and everything, per the statute, or per the ordinance here, or the policy. It has to be approved by the Waukesha County and the state, I think. I mean, I don't know much about it, but, so, that was rewritten from some 4 or 5 different attempts. I'm open for criticism.
The only thing I wanted to ask, and I just wanted to jump in, because it says fees will be assessed to all businesses and/or individuals that are producing food
That's to take care
for public consumption for profit within the village of Hartland.
That was to take care of somebody wants to set up a table.
Right, and instead of using the word domiciled, and I'll tell you why, instead of using or adding to this, we can leave the wording the way it is. I would like to see that it be added, because I think it clearly states all of it. A business that does not pay property taxes in Hartland or have a lease. Every single restaurant we have, every single business we have either owns the building themselves and pays property tax, or pays a lease, which indirectly goes to paying property tax. By clarifying that, what it also does is takes out, let's say someone comes and there's an office space for rent for $300 and they say, well, that's my office and I got a P.O. box in Hartland. See, I'm a Hartland business, but they actually are a food truck for someone else, but it's worth it for them to pay those yearly fees because they can file it. I think it's good to add in that they pay taxes or have a lease in Hartland.
They are also paying fees, bar fees or licensing and all that to the village as well. So they technically would be exempt from that.
Yep. And while it is just a policy, I know it's not an ordinance. I also think that those trucks should have to come in once the event is approved. Then whoever those businesses are, they can come in and get their $75
Well, like
fee.
Jeff, Mr. Anson said earlier, it's to protect the village community.
Right.
So outside people have to pay and the village doesn't have to.
Right. But if there's an event someday, kind of like, and we ran into it a little bit with Bark River Bash, even if it was Jeff, Mr. Anson from Hoggers went to Bark River Bash and was invited there, and he had a grill or whatever and was serving water and hamburgers, that's not a food truck. You know what I mean? That's something where the focus is taking care and the focus on Hartland. We want the focus on Hartland, and that, you know, or if it's Birch Banyan is serving coffee, that's not a food truck. Yep, and if someone brings in a caterer where they're not selling it, I'm paying $2,000 just for them to feed food to my party. That's not a food truck. If Nico's Euros comes up here, that's food truck.
And if there's a wedding reception and somebody's catered that event to, that they don't pay for that.
Yep, and because they would not be charging. One party would pay them $2,000 or $5,000 for all their food, and then they're feeding the people. Yep. Sorry, I yield the floor. I don't have any more. I just wanted to fill it in. Anybody else?
Well, I appreciate you reworking it. I'm glad that you do have in there for profit, which covers all of that, it makes it clear that if you're in it to make a profit, then you pay the fee if you're not from Hartland. So, thank you.
Yep. Anybody?
So,
Go ahead.
so what, can you restate yours, Donna? What you just said, I was confused what you said.
I thank them.
No, before you thank them. I can figure that one out. About nonprofit profit. I didn't hear
No,
everything
that
you
it
said.
said if they're in for, as it states right in here, that if it's for profit within Hartland, that they have to pay the fees if they're not based in Hartland. So if they're coming in here from outside of Hartland and going to make a profit, if Joe Schmo from Idaho is coming in and giving food to his family, they're not going to charge if it's for profit, which is stated in here. That's what I said, and I said thank you.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure, to me, it doesn't matter if they make a profit or not. If it's a food truck, they come in, they pay.
Why would they come up with
Well, no, hold on, Rick, that gets a little, let's say a food truck comes in, let's say I rent out the park, oh, I'm sorry, is it okay? Let's say I rent out the park, and I'm gonna have a birthday party for my son, and I'm paying the park $400 to rent it. No, hold on, and I have 200 people that I invited, and I did get Nico's Euros as a food truck to come, because I want them to park nearby. But I'm paying, now, they're not selling, I'm paying them $2,000 up front, and they've already said, okay, we're gonna come ready to prepare 40 euros for your group.
Correct.
Okay, so they're not selling any food, they are just, I'm paying them ahead of time. In that case, they would be like a caterer. Now, let's say for my event, I wanted to allow them to come in so anybody at the party could go and buy stuff from them, then they're acting as a food truck, because anybody could walk through the park and go and buy that from them.
Profit, correct.
Right, so if the money's exchanging hands, they gotta come and get that $75 permit.
Yeah.
Even if it's at the Bark River Bash, if the Bark River Bash wanted to have a food truck come in where people were gonna be exchanging money at the window, that's for profit, regardless of the fact that it's a not-for-profit that is renting the
Right,
park.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, right.
Just wanted to
Can I
clarify.
ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Does Kelowna Ice count?
Yeah, they
I
pay.
guess, yeah, there's money
Yeah.
exchanging at the window.
Yes.
But if
Only
they
'cause
come
it says
in
food.
for
That's what I was
like a
asking.
birthday party, like I bought Kelowna Ice to come in and I gave them $200, and I want all the kids to have free ices. That's okay then.
I would say that's okay.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need the $75 permit, because that's catering.
Party in the Park does have Kelowna Ice come in and they do pay the village, so.
Right.
Because they are selling and will be for profit.
Yep. We did have a motion, right?
No,
Oh,
not yet.
okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the outside food vendor policy.
I
That's been
second.
presented.
Certainly with the stipulations that,
Oh, with the stipulation, as stated from President Vanderstel. With the removal of the, sorry.
It's moved.
And seconded.
You did, okay, I wanted to clarify. So it's been moved and seconded to accept the policy with the stipulations that it be added of paying a lease or property taxes in the village, which will declare you a village business. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Moving right along here. Now we have, from the Park Board, discussion and consideration of a request to waive fees for Lake Country players.
All right, Lake Country Players came to Park Board to use the Fine Arts Center for performances in June and a performance in July. They did not talk to us about their week of practicing on the stage and getting a rental fee for that. Park Board is proposing that we charge them $100 per week for their practice fees, kind of like a discount. Otherwise, they would be paying $84 for each day. Per day. The difference is in here that I put. If they are charged $100 per week for the practices per Park Board recommendation and $525 for the performance, the total will be $725. If we charge them $525 for the performance and charge $84 each day, it'll be $861. They are selling tickets this year to help pay for expenses and everything. But anybody in the park walking by can stop and watch. These are pre-sale tickets. They're not doing it on the day of. But if you go to their website, you will see their tickets, buy tickets and stuff. So they're just asking to, they would like to see waived, but we're proposing $100 per week.
Couple other facts. If you reserve the Fine Arts Center, you're allowed to have the bleachers. So that's why they're selling tickets ahead of time, so those people get to sit on the bleachers. So if you want to walk by and watch and not pay and watch a performance, you can sit in the grass or whatever, and that would be free for you. So,
Oh man.
boy, I don't know. I don't even know how many rows. Do you know how many rows of bleachers are? 5 or 6? Maybe.
It's a gap in the middle of stairs, so.
Maybe 100. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing. I'm always too busy. I never counted how many people are sitting there. So we have that, and actually their first day was today.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they had it open and they were practicing.
We
so
did
I don't know
allow
how
them
that-
because they did pay their $525 for the performances. So we figured, okay, the 84 or whatever comes out of it. Obviously, they have to pay for whatever you guys decide to charge them before they can perform.
She sent an email to Dee Dee and asked for leniency because they were not able to perform at all due to COVID in the past. So the leniency that we provided was, instead of waiving it, the majority of the park board members thought that they should be paying something. And so we all agreed that it would be $100 a week rather than the full $84 per day. And I think there's one day that the Kids' Day
Yeah,
right,
she'll be aware.
is
Yeah.
involved, and so they will not
July
be able to use the
28th.
stage that day.
And they'll have the understanding that any prior reservations before this have first priority in concerts. If a concert wants to start setting up before they are done, they must leave.
Are there any other rentals?
Just the July 28th, that Wednesday.
Well,
That's
is there a library?
a
chat
library
time or something?
event. I'd have to check the calendar, but that's
But
at
that's
like
like
3.
9 to 10 or something, so they want it 9 to 5 every day.
Yeah.
And
it would be like an hour long.
In which the Kid Day, they wouldn't be able to perform, and then if we do have any bands that want to set up on Thursdays, then they would have to get cut short as well, but they're aware of that, so.
That was my question of what time of day they're looking for it, and then how it would affect
Yeah.
the band setting up or just the garden being open in general.
Yeah.
I'm all for supporting Lake Country players and every other organization that makes Hartland great, but I will say something. Last summer, I sat in the same room, and there's other organizations that got hit really hard by COVID. We've had baseball leagues that have had to shut down 80% of their league. We're not making any discounts for those fields because they're using them all week. We're not making discounts for the Ha. We're not making discounts for Legion Ball. And in the future, one thing I am going to ask is that while Park Board is to direct us on what to do with the parks, I strongly am asking on behalf of the elected officials that are on the board to force those 8 organizations to come to this board to ask. Park Board's there to guide what happens in the park, and we respect our boards, including Park Board and all of that, but when it comes to the money, once it's approved and that they send it forward for approval, it makes it look like the village board is going against the park board. If we say, no, we don't think that we should not do those fees, and it creates a riff, I'm asking that. I don't know if the whole board shares, but in my respect for each of them, basically we hold the power of the purse, so to speak.
The usual process of coming to park board and saying, hey, we'd like to use Fine Arts Center, and we told them that we have to come for this to see if we can get waived. So we didn't waive.
Were they asked to come tonight? I'm just
I
curious.
did tell Dee Dee to ask them to come, but we didn't waive any fees. We did it by the book on how you guys want us to do it for like the permits.
They
and
came in
stuff.
February and
Yeah.
asked to reserve those nights, and we approved that, but they did not say anything about the practice weeks.
No.
So we just found out about the practice weeks a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Because we tell people this is the village board's decision to waive or to adjust the fees. Otherwise, it is what it is.
I just didn't.
No, we're just looking for
That's
your
all right.
guideline.
Yeah,
We-
Yep.
we
Well, no.
don't-
I was just saying, because I'm saying the reason I can't vote to make the fees any less than what I think they should be, I could see holding the one deposit, because there's deposits on that. Hold that thing for 2 weeks and then charge the daily fee. Number one, it's 8 hours a day. But we haven't made those arrangements we had other organizations that are a big part of this village that were really hurting because of COVID. We had, like I said, baseball leagues that, they were hurting too. And this year, now everything's ramping back up, but I feel for them, but realistically, they could practice at their place in a stage that's sectioned off in the same size and then go to that stage. They could, but I just want to keep it fair. So I'm saying that's why, for me, I just can't in good faith.
Well, if we do it for one, we'd have to do it for all, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say to the board was, I would have a difficult time supporting this because I guarantee the nonprofits that utilize your park systems are gonna be coming for the same reasons. Next meeting and the next meeting and the next meeting, and as they should.
And this would also open up the door, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but it would open up the door, anybody that comes in and say, let's negotiate this.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get a little bit tough, so, sorry, I yield. Sorry for
Plus, I think it's
interrupting.
sometimes a little unfair to put on our park board as well, so I appreciate you guys coming and explaining it even when they're not here.
Jeff has a question.
Oh, yes, sir.
I have to agree with you too, and with Robin. I think it's unfair that if we do give a discount to them, I think that what Robin just stated, that we're gonna have all the rest of them coming in front of us, well, we want a discount too, because you gave it to them. So I don't think we need to give a discount. Another thing I think, and I don't know if they took this into consideration or not, I'm looking at the bleachers, and there's 3 rows. So that's not a lot of seating. Just a suggestion to them to be a little bit careful on how many tickets they sell, because I think that could open a can of worms with people too, because you've got people that are gonna be around there viewing it for free. Now you've got people that paid for tickets that if they oversell are gonna have to stand around it. A little bit unfair.
I'm gonna guess that they're probably not limiting the amount of tickets that they're
Right,
selling.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So
guessing
that's their
that
issue, but
more the
I'm-
merrier.
Can I throw something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, and I'm gonna say this from having rented the Fine Arts Center before, I do think that we should provide a certain amount of, when you're paying the amount of money, nothing costs more than a Fine Arts Center to rent.
Right.
I believe that we should, if they sell spaces and they end up setting chairs for 3 rows behind those bleachers, I personally think they have the right to do that.
Definitely.
Now, 75 feet back, that could be a problem with T-ball. But, 3 rows behind, or let's say even 25 or 30 feet behind, I would say that should be included in their rental, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if they even want to rope off to say, hey, here's the paid-for section, anybody else can go in free, I think that they would be just fine in doing that.
When it was presented, the limited seating didn't seem to be an issue for them.
Okay.
It didn't come up.
Yeah, I think Jeff had a great suggestion there too. If we give them a space to, beyond the bleachers to actually rope off for paid, I think that would work great. So people could even bring in lawn chairs that they paid for the ticket. So they've got their own special space so that, that kind of divides the park from the rest of the park too, telling other people, hey,
This is
this is for them.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure it's, a lot of parents and grandparents and family
Yeah.
members are
Yep.
gonna be watching that.
But they'd be responsible to do the roping off.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yes, I'm just clarifying.
Yes.
And there are extra chairs in the Fine Arts Center, actually.
Do we have a motion?
I don't think we do.
No, we don't.
I'm gonna make a motion that we charge the normal standard fees. One held deposit can be made, but that the fees stay normal without being discounted. Obviously, it's in Hartland, so at the village rates for resident rates, that we approve. The event we've already approved, have we not? This is just on the fees?
This is just on the practice usage
Just the
of the
fees,
Fine
yeah.
Arts Center.
On the usage or just the fees?
It's on the fee, it's the fees
It's
for
the
the
fees
week.
for the usage,
For the whole week this week?
just for the practice weeks, not for the
Usage already been-
performances, they've already approved
For the
them.
performance. so-
For the performance, not for this.
Okay, I would make a motion that they can use it for their practices, but that they have to pay the standard fees. It's been moved and seconded to approve the performance, or the practice performances at the stage for the standard resident fees for the Lake Country players. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. I don't think we have any other items from Park Board.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now we have consideration of a motion to approve contractor's application for payment number 1 in the amount of $31,690 to Thunder Road for the 2021 crack sealing program.
Dave Felkner, Utility Supervisor. Thunder Road is seeking payment for the $31,690. This is for the work done on Hart Ridge, Woodlands, and Chestnut Ridge subdivisions. They still have Industrial Drive to do. They waited till they got the paving done on South Industrial. That is now complete, so now they'll come in next week and they'll do the crack sealing and then the slurry seal over there. So we are recommending that the payment of $31,690.00 be paid to Thunder Road LLC for the work completed year-to-date.
Also move, we make the payment.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay Thunder Road the $31,690 requested for payment number 1 for the 2021 crack sealing program. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have a consideration of a motion to approve contractor's application for payment number 1 in the amount of $328,785,007 to the Wolf Paving Company, Inc. for the 2021 paving program.
As you stated, Wolf Paving is seeking their first payment for the work completed so far. This work consists of the utility work on East Capitol and North Avenue, also curb work and the paving of them roads, and the path by the firehouse on Lawn Street that went about 400 feet to the south. We are satisfied with the work completed. Just an FYI, will come back and do for another payment for industrial, but that'll be down the road after we do the utility inspection. So we are recommending the payment to Wolf for the sum of $328,785.07.
I'll make a motion to approve contractor's application payment number 1 in the amount of $328,785.07 to Wolf Paving for the 2021 paving program.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay Wolf Paving $328,785.07 for payment number 1 for the 2021 paving program. Discussion.
I love the path. It's really nice.
They did a great job.
Yes,
Way
they
better
did.
than going into the river.
Next
North
year.
Avenue has never looked that good.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the item, consideration of a motion to declare the end of the state of emergency regarding COVID-19 in the village of Hartland.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, and I wrote it down because I know it's gonna be tired at this time of the night. The meeting runs so darn long. I'd like to make a motion that, to declare the end of the state of emergency regarding the COVID in the village of Hartland.
I'll second.
And to continue for 1 year, the non-exclusive reserved parking for curbside pickups. The only signage allowed is the village reserved parking for curbside pickup signs. That's my motion. Want me to read it? Want me to say it again?
I would second that, but I would like to add that it's one sign in front of that business, and that's not necessarily, we need to reiterate to those businesses that because the sign, that one sign is placed there for carryout, doesn't mean that that is their sign for their business. Anybody can park there to curbside pick up something.
That's why I said non-exclusive parking. That's the key, non-exclusive. So if it's between 2 or 3 businesses, they can all share during the day until they can.
Okay.
So the non-exclusive makes it permanent, makes it that way.
Is that item on your agenda?
Yes.
You're voting on
Yes.
specifically about the signs?
Yes.
I have, well,
Number 14?
you're asking about the.
Hold on. You want to step to the podium, please? She's going to tell us to quote it to the next agenda item, which we're probably going to have to. Go ahead.
Hi, Val Wisniewski, 511 Ransom Road. I don't know what's in the state of emergency, but I do know if an item is going to be voted on, that it has to be an agenda item. So I don't see that as an agenda item specifically.
Number 14.
But I'm talking about the sign itself. I think businesses should be able to have the opportunity to come in and say, I'm for or against that sign. So unless that is written into the COVID-19 plan, I don't think you're allowed to vote on that specific item.
And that's what my question was gonna be, is the emergency thing, what stated there. I wasn't aware that those signs were part of that because of that, we decided to do it, but that, to me, is a separate entity that we were voting on this here. That would have to be, as she stated, come to as another one about extension of the signs, or it doesn't even need to be, because unless we read the document of why those signs were there and what the starting date and end date was.
That was what my comment was gonna be as well, being that the item on the agenda was to declare the end of the state of emergency. Do that motion, and then if we found that because we've declared the end of the state of emergency, there are things because of what we did, we would wanna take separate action on those, because things might have come out of that we wanna continue, because I don't disagree that that's an option for us.
What I'm going to rule, and if the board opposes me, that's fine, based on the request that's come from the speaker in the audience, and based on there being confusion for the board, I am going to hold the item over, not for ending the state of emergency. And this is going to get a little confusing, but my ruling is that we will can you please put on the agenda the signs, and can you also let the police department know, just leave the signs out there, even though there's not an ordinance allowing them. So technically those signs are wrong. It was only to help businesses. The end of the state of emergency also, our state of emergency has actually ended already. We were putting this on there to let the public know, but we will make sure to get it on the next agenda item, so any business owners or people that think that we should take away those signs can come and express that at the next meeting. But Mike, if you want to state your motion, we'll have to put the signage part on the next agenda. If you want to restate your motion, you can, otherwise it'd just be ending the state
Well,
of
can
emergency.
we make that motion to declare the end of the state of emergency if people don't know what the hell it is?
We can, as a board, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what is the state of emergency? Nobody up here knows. I mean, you guys didn't know what the state of emergency plan was.
The state of emergency was.
No, but what I'm saying is that my question is, I guess, I've read it, and I've written letters to people in the government about it, but I don't know if it's something that, we have to find out what we had in effect here in the state before we could make the change?
What if we reword this? However, I'm having trouble answering your question because the signage was part of the state of emergency. It just took us a while to make them. Remember, we had homemade signs that we went and laminated and put out there. So Mike, if you would like to if you would like to say end the state of emergency excluding the sign policy, that would fall within the guidelines
Yeah.
of,
Oh, I could probably make.
do you see what I'm saying? Do you agree to an extent? If someone makes a motion saying that they're ending the state of emergency except for one portion of it, that being the signs, then that would fall within the category of ending the state of emergency, in my opinion. Yep. Mike, if someone would want to make that type of a motion, they could.
I'll move the motion that we declare the end of the state of emergency regarding COVID-19 in the village of Hartland, excluding the continued use for 1 year of a non-existing reserve parked for curbside pickup.
That's the law.
But the rest of it, though, is the only signage allowed is the village of Hartland reserved for curbside pickup.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to end the state of emergency with the exception of the sign, the temporary curbside pickup signs that the village created as part of the state of emergency. I'll have some added comments when we get to discussion, but I'm gonna open it up for discussion.
It was
And
my
Trustee Doral
understanding,
alluded to it. Oh, go ahead.
it was my understanding too, that when, that was a part of the state of emergency, I believe, but we were a little bit late on it because we were discussing it. When we did discuss it and we put the signs out, the way that we put the signs out, they are not exclusive to just the business that they're in front of. They are for all businesses in the bid district. So we need the businesses to understand that it's not their sign. You know, if somebody wants to park in front of that sign and the business is around the corner, they can still use that sign.
Yep. You are 100% correct.
Okay,
That's why it's a
that's what I understood.
Trustee Doral alluded to that also by stating, even if I'm gonna use businesses that people, know just from driving by all the time.
Right.
If someone picks up food, if someone wants to get curbside pickup from Zesty, but they park in front of the spot that right now is in front of Palmer's, only one spot per business. The business indicates the spots, but that person could pull up and say, no, I'm just waiting for Zesty to bring my food. And the spot in front of Zesty's could pull in there and say, no, I'm waiting for Palmer's to bring my food.
Exactly.
I'm there for curbside pickup. Each business is allowed one spot, and we had determined this at the time, and it was not exclusive. So if someone parks in front of Tabby's, but is waiting for Rick to run out a prescription because they don't want to go in there where people aren't wearing masks, or for whatever reason, actually even convenience, they can do that. So it is very clear, one spot per business. What that designated for us is how many spots we're going to designate as, curbside pickup, but it's not exclusive to the business it's in front of.
Right.
It's exclusive to that you're using it for curbside pickup.
And I just wanna,
Now, just for clarification, and I know we've gone,
Yeah.
these are one of those situations where sometimes you have someone that is a member that, I'm just letting you know, and it is up to the board's discretion to be able to allow someone to come forward, so.
so I
go
wanted
ahead.
to apologize.
No, it's okay.
Because I was looking on the website and I didn't see anywhere what the state of emergency guidelines was. So I apologize if that's included in there. I wasn't aware of that, about the sign, so I didn't want it, I don't know what they are because they weren't posted. So I just wanted to apologize for assuming that was part of it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it really, what was written in there was that it'd be local decisions be made with regard to supporting this, the guidelines.
Yeah, I was not aware that it was included.
I'm glad you asked the question. I'm a little more awake now.
Thanks, Mike. We have a motion, right? We just need to vote. Any other discussion?
I just want to make sure that that discussion will be on the next agenda about the signs, whether, I do understand saying the businesses, but it was a decision that the board made to help the businesses, so it's a board village decision on whether we keep those signs or remove those signs. And I'd like that decision and a little bit more guidelines as to how long, again, reiterating the fact that it's anyone that's a pickup for anybody, and to put a little more guidelines into it on the next agenda, so.
You'll get that on Or one of you vote. Perfect. Any other discussion?
Sorry.
Thank you.
It's like, yeah, I got it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now we have discussion and consideration of a motion to appoint Ryan Bailey as interim administrator. I want to stress this. This is simply talking about the decision to make Ryan Bailey the administrator, not components that would go along with that. Components that would go along with that will be discussed at a different time. This is just on, basically, I did take it upon myself as in the role of village president to make Ryan the interim administrator just to get us through to the next board meeting. We're now at the board meeting. Now it is up to the board. I only did that because you all know why.
I'd make a motion to appoint Ryan Bailey as the interim administrator for the village of Hartland.
I second.
All right, it's been moved, seconded, and thirded to appoint Ryan Bailey as interim village administrator. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Announcements.
I guess it's an announcement, but it's actually a request. The Nixon Park Ponds bubbler, because it wasn't much of a pump, needed repair. And this is like the second or third time we're gonna repair the thing. We probably bought a couple horses in the meantime. But the idea is, I think I'd like to put in some kind of a fountain or something that's really in the middle that would lit or something like that would just magnify that Nixon pond instead of repairing a little bubbler that's never worked.
Like we have.
And I'd like to get us to look into that.
So that being said, that bubbler you see is actually a bubbler. It keeps the water moving, stirring underwater. And our fountain is in repair, and that's supposed to come back by Wednesday. That was $1,700 repair. So we did look at numbers to get a bigger fountain with lights on it this time. Them numbers are coming in somewhere around $7,000 to $9,000, and we'll discuss that through the budget process.
Bellagio.
Thank you.
LED lights?
That'd be awesome.
Where you be able to change colors?
Would it be like
We
the ones?
can look into that.
Okay.
Would it be like the ones at Mary Hill? Like the ones we have at Mary Hill?
I don't recall. Do you have lights on yours?
They have lights and they shoot up blue water.
Well, your water is blue because they put chemicals in it.
I know, it's nasty.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, I'm done.
Oh,
I apologize, Mr. Mike.
I
I'm
feel
sorry.
walked down.
I have a pen for you.
Anybody else for any announcements?
Over here.
I just wanted to remind the public that the logo contest ends tomorrow, June 15th. If you have information that you want, it's loaded on the village's Facebook page, but you can also call the village.
Anybody else have announcements? Yesterday was the actual groundbreaking at St. Charles. The Archbishop was out there and they did the groundbreaking. It was a pretty cool event that they had. It was held right around, it was about 12:30. But they say that entire building, the envelope will be up, should be up by September or October. And after that, it's all just the amenities around it. So it's going to happen really quick. You know, it'll be the roof sealed up. But it should be pretty cool. So that'll be moving along. So just wanted to share that. If no one else has announcements, then our next order of business would be consideration of a motion to recess to closed session pursuant to state statutes 19.85 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, to consider salary amount or stipend to interim administrator, and to reconvene into open session pursuant to 19.85 Section 2 for the purpose of considering any action as may be necessary and appropriate. This would necessitate a roll call vote to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to state statutes 19.81C as you stated, the details.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll for ayes and nays.
Trustee Anson?
Aye.
Trustee Duro?
Aye.
Trustee Myers?
Aye.
Trustee Walshiger?
Aye.
Trustee Connor?
Aye.
Trustee Lucky? President Vanderstel?
Aye. That motion passes. We'll take a brief recess while we get set up for closed session. And we are back in open session at this time, as we were in closed session discussing pay information on the recently selected interim administrator, Ryan Bailey. We would at this time entertain a motion that would correspond to the conversation and discussion that this board has had in closed session.
All right, I'll make a motion to give interim Ryan administrator a stipend for $1,368.96 bi-weekly to his current salary.
It's been moved and seconded to give a stipend of $1,368.96 every 2 weeks, coinciding with the pay cycle of the village, to the interim administrator, Ryan Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. All left now would be a motion to
I make the motion that we adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned.